All right, enough Champions League final. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's go, Gab.
Big shout out to Crystal Palace, who won the Conference League final just a few hours ago, beating Rayo Vallecano 1-0. Jules, I'm going to get this out of the way. Had it not been for our friend John Texter, they would have never won the Conference League final because they would have been in the Europa League. Joking aside, it's 3 trophies, if you count the Community Shield, which you really shouldn't, for Glasner. And I think while Rayo had their moments, this was deserved, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we expected the first half that could be quite like it was, with not much happening, because I think that's what Rayo's game had to be, and Palace probably were a bit slow to get in, a bit like what Chelsea and Real Betis played out last season in the semi-final. And then after that, I think it could have easily been a 3-0 win for Palace. I'm so happy for Mateta to score the winner, and again, continuing this quite incredible last 18 months or 2 years that he's had with this Crystal Palace team before probably very likely leaving in the summer. I think he's an incredible ambassador for the game and for the club. What a wonderful story he is for somebody who's had to fight so hard to get to where he is now, and now he's going to even discover the World Cup. So first ever European campaign for Crystal Palace in their 126-year history, and the trophy at the end of it is just magnificent what Glasner and the players have done. Gab, Barcelona have agreed a fee of around £70 million for Newcastle's Anthony Gordon. What do you make of it?
What I make of it is that this is weird. I see the logic in terms of some longer term leverage over Rafinha, whose contract is up in 2 years or whatever. But Barcelona are still under pretty severe restrictions from La Liga. They hope to move to the level where they can be at 1-to-1. So for every euro you save, you can spend €1. But I would have thought you'd put your resources, whatever they are, towards center forward to get an alternative to Ferran Torres now that Robert Lewandowski's gone, and perhaps in central defense get somebody other than Cubarsí, or in addition to Cubarsí and Gerard Martin, who he seems to like so much. Instead, they've gone for a winger. I don't know what this means. I don't know if it means they're going to sacrifice one of their attacking midfielders. I think at this point, I think you have to. And I'm also pretty sure it means that Marcus Rashford won't be sticking around. But I don't see any other way to interpret this. For Newcastle, I think what's pretty evident, some people even suggesting the reason we didn't see him at the end of the season was that they desperately need the money and they didn't want him to get injured so they could shift him. Manchester United, meanwhile, have reportedly agreed personal terms with Ederson, not the keeper, but the Brazilian midfielder from Atalanta. We're talking around £38 million reportedly. Make sense?
I think it's a really good signing for them. And yes, okay, this season it was not as good as what he showed last season with an Atalanta team that was not as good, obviously, after losing, Gasperini than what they were before. But I think he turns 27 in July. I think he's got huge potential. I think he'll be perfect in front of the back four. There's a lot of things that he can do. There's a lot of different ways that you can use him to. And I think for me, for a team that needs midfielders, at least 2, maybe even 3, as we mentioned before, I think he's a really good first signing to have, especially at that price, which I think is a decent price.
It's a decent price if you get the one from 2 years ago, even the one this year maybe. My only, and I love his skill set because he really is a legitimate all-rounder. If they sign Elliot Anderson to complement the other 2 or somebody like that, then I will probably like it even more. My unease a little bit is just simply with his age profile, because obviously Cunha and Mbeumo are also kind of in that age bracket, and should they have gone for somebody a little younger perhaps, but phenomenal player, and if he gets back to level that he was at 2 years ago, look out. Nico Gonzalez has been linked with a move away from Manchester City. So much for the guy who Pep called a mini Rodri.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, 60 million euros, that's the release clause they paid Porto at the time for a player that we've said it from day one. He's a good player, but nothing special, certainly nothing at the level of Rodri, and we saw that it was not most of the time, that was a bit harsh, but it was just not good enough in general. He has had some good games, he's scored some nice goals, including very recently in the FA Cup semi-final that then obviously led City into the final and winning the final. there will be a team for him lesser level than what City are right now. And it's one of those where I think they just panicked a bit 18 months ago when they signed him in January because Rodri was injured and they just needed a more defensive-minded midfielder and they could not find one and they went for him. And like we said, if he's leaving now, it's because he hasn't worked out. But it's okay, not everybody can succeed at Manchester City.
This is a bad signing. Let's call spade spade.
Yeah. United's account have revealed that sacking Ruben Amorim cost the club £16.7 million. Gab, that's even more expensive than the Dutch guy.
That's right. Eric Ten Hag cost them £14.5 million. And I go back to this, which I say again and again, Jules. There are more there are more great managers out there, or even good managers, than there are football clubs. There's only one Manchester United. Don't worry. The guy should be paying you to be coaching there. Not quite. But why they feel the need to bring these guys in, give them these enormous contracts for enormous salaries. I mean, honestly, where was Ruben Amorim? I know obviously it was interesting from Liverpool and whatever, but they always pay over the odds for managers. And don't even get me started on Milan and Max Allegri, but that's another fine example there. And then what happens is when you sack them, you give them these enormous payouts. And these long contracts to me make no sense whatsoever.
Mikel Arteta was named the Premier League Manager of the season. Gab, are you okay with that?
I'm okay with it. I don't care about this prize. I think the prize is a little silly. I think there's other people who I think could have been just as good candidates. There's Iraola, who we mentioned. There's Unai Emery, who we mentioned. Regis Lebris as well. Taking newly promoted team into Europe in seventh place. It's apples and oranges. They're almost performing different jobs in different contexts with different resources. What I will point out, though, is I am not surprised Mikel Arteta won it because I don't exactly know I just know it's a panel that the Premier League convenes to give this prize out. What I find absolutely remarkable is that since 2014, the prize has always gone to the manager of the Premier League champions every single year except for one. Now, one year was 2021-22 when Jurgen Klopp won it at Liverpool, and of course Pep Guardiola won the league that year. I find that bizarre. I find equally bizarre that between 2009 and 2013, in that 4-year spell, the prize was won by Harry Redknapp. You ready for this? Harry Redknapp, Alan Pardew, and Tony Pulis. I find that equally weird. Don't you?
Yeah, but I think it's the LMA. So, managers voting for managers, and maybe at times there's just a bit of kind of bias in their votes. I don't know. I think Lebris would have been a worthy winner, but I can see why Mikel Arteta won it again because I think he's been magnificent this season.
Nuno Espirito Santo is sticking around at West Ham and will try to get them back up to the Premier League. Are you a little surprised, Jules?
Yeah, maybe. I think it's a nice challenge to take on. I think he owed it to the club because he failed in his mission to keep them up. And it's not like if he's arrived in April when everything was lost. He arrived in September and there was plenty of time to keep them up and he didn't. So in a way, I like the fact that he said, okay, you want me to stay? Then I'm happy to stay and we'll come back up together. And then, maybe he stays a little bit longer if they're back in the Premier League or he goes somewhere else. But I think it's the right thing to do from his point of view, for sure. Tottenham CEO Vinay Venkatesan apparently thinks that the club's training ground is a bit too fancy, Gabby.
I thought this was weird. And Vinay, don't get annoyed. We're just having fun. But he gave an interview with the BBC where he talked about the training ground. And he says our training ground is one of the best, if not the best in the world. But when you look around, it looks more like a 5-star hotel than it does a, quote, performance environment. That will change over the summer. I'm really curious what you're going to do. What do you do? Take out the air conditioning? Stop sending the cleaners into the dressing room? What, you think making it uglier and less cushy is going to make the players perform better? I kind of get what he says, but then I kind of don't. It sounds like something you say for the fans. I'm going to be a tough guy. Everybody's going to work harder. He also said that what Tottenham have done as a club in kind of the commercial sphere has been amazing and really has been amazing. The commercial numbers for a team that, finished one spot above relegation the last 2 seasons have absolutely been remarkable. And he says it's the football operations that can improve. And I think everybody agrees with him there. I think he's been there since April 2005. So, the commercial part, which is really his background, where he comes from, all right, we know that's good. The big question is who's going to fix the other part, and is it going to be him? Nicolas Hernandez scores twice in the last 4 minutes to lead Belgrano to a 3-2 upset of River Plate in the final of Argentina's Apertura. It's Belgrano's first ever title, Jules. And more impressively, they all thought that Cuti Romero was going to be there since he was injured, be there to go and cheer them on. Belgrano, of course, is where he started out. But instead, he was shamed into staying in London to cheer on Spurs. I'm pretty sure he was watching, though.
Yeah, I'm sure he was watching. I mean, there was previews between Belgrano and River Plate as well a very long time ago. But first title in the most incredible, dramatic fashion is amazing. I really believe Cuti Romero wanted to be there and watch that and not be at Spurs. But against the public pressure, he felt that he had to. And the backlash towards what looked like him in South America, clearly ready to stay there for that game. He came back to Europe, was there in the stands when his team stayed up, and as a captain, the club captain, I think that's the right thing to do, but I'm not sure he would have done so. He would have been there if there hadn't been all that outrage from the fans. Philip Jorgensen reportedly wants to leave Chelsea to get first team football, Gab.
Yeah, your favorite Chelsea keeper, Jules. I don't blame him. He's 24 years old. I think he knows which way the wind is blowing. Chelsea have a zillion goalkeepers on their books. Obviously, Robert Sanchez was the number one. I think they're going to have to make a decision on him next season. And, of course, they also have Mike Penders, who is very big and very young. And, of course, was on loan at he was on loan at Strasbourg last season.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
The thing is, they paid 25 million euros for him 2 years ago. And the magic of amortization is pretty clear on this one. You'd need to get 50 million euros back for him. I don't know who's going to give you 50 million euros for a guy who's played very little the last 2 seasons, who's been generally really bad when he has played, or then he's been injured. I think if he wants to go somewhere else, it might be a loan. Maybe a loan to Strasbourg, with Penders coming to challenge Sanchez for the number one.